Today, I wanted to get into some recent concerns over Jimin's health, him at the hospital, and a trigger warning here. We are going to be talking about people's concerns over Jimin's eating habits, and then what people believe Suga's reaction to it is. I also have some fairly controversial opinions on this, so we'll get heated today. And then we have some screenshots and photos being shared about Jimin. So hey dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumplings, hey spilling mug merch, and let's go. Jimin has been preparing for his solo album, and it's been talked about a lot right now and what it will contain. It was reported that the album will be done and ready in February, so we will have a lot to look forward to there. With the success of Jimin's collaboration with Taeyang, people have been really wondering if the sound will be similar to Taeyang's song or what it will end up being. Every time Taeyang goes on a promotion to promote HYBE, Jimin's name will naturally come up, and of course, Jimin's album will be even more anticipated. However, what sometimes the fandom likes to do makes little sense to me, because at a certain point it really feels like they're just looking for drama, and it might be because they have nothing better to do. Yet they target news sites and blogs for inciting drama when every other day there's something that's trending that makes zero sense. Meaning thousands of people are jumping on a bandwagon that makes no sense. So what am I talking about here today? Let me give some backstory first. TXT, or Tomorrow X Together, recently just had a recent comeback, and then for the US, Europe, and Japan and South Korea, all the CDs were shipped the same day. So if you pre-ordered the CDs from any of those locations I mentioned, everyone would get a notification on the same day saying your CD was making its way to you. This is great, and the fandom loves this because they were saying that the CDs will now all count toward the charts for TXT and they'll have a good ranking. If you are unaware of this, an artist has up to 6 months to set up a pre-ordering system. So in that 6 months, you can get as many sales as you can get of the song. So usually some artists will release a music video months before the album. This is to drive up sales for the pre-order. Then once the pre-orders are over, all the sales from that 6 months will count towards the first day release of the album, and thus all those pre-orders count the same as sales for that first week, which is important for chart rankings. However, today, thousands of people were trending and tagging HYBE, saying that they need to make sure to do this for Jimin as well. Because in the past, when RM and Jin had their pre-orders, different places of the world had different times in which they would ship. The US got their physical album at a different time from, let's say, Japan. This became an issue to the fandom as they think this will affect chart rankings. I can't verify or deny if this is true because I do believe the albums only count on the charts once it's shipped. However, the issue here is simply and likely that HYBE can't keep up with the demand. Fans were so upset leaking or showing pictures and news articles of TXT's promotion and then previous moments with the other BTS members to say that HYBE is treating BTS members unfairly. Something to consider is that TXT is a group that HYBE has the numbers for. They can look at TXT from previous albums and comebacks to determine what the sales of TXT is going to look like. So if they believe that TXT will sell 1 million albums globally, they can just produce 1 million albums before anything goes live. Companies don't like to overproduce albums as they will lose a lot of money doing so. However, something a lot of people don't consider is that HYBE would know the numbers for BTS, how many sales typically the group would make, but HYBE has no idea what exactly the demand of the members individually, so they don't know how to track it, and each area might have more or less demand. I am sure if you go by the numbers, you'll very quickly see some members are probably more popular in a current area versus other areas. This all impacts how many albums to make and also the time in which they make it. This is my conspiracy. There's also less concern because pre-orders should all count towards the same chart ranking. And if I'm incorrect and shipping day does not matter, then as long as you pre-order, then you're fine. And the second issue is that we have no idea if HYBE is prepared this time or not. To assume automatically that they're not is very interesting, and some have argued that we should just wait and see. And the rebuttal to see is that they rather protest now to ensure it doesn't happen. This makes me feel like when you wake up from a dream that your significant other cheated on you, and so you're mad at them for the whole day. Like it didn't happen, and the fandom is mad because it could happen. Jimin has also been talked about since HYBE recently dropped the behind the scenes video of Jimin at the HYBE set. Jimin was fangirling over Taeyang quite heavily, and it was very cute to see. But Jimin also shared something in the video that got everyone quite upset and concerned. Trigger warning here again, but Jimin talked about his weight. He said that currently he weighs 59 kg, which is 130 pounds, and he used to weigh 56 kg, which is 123 pounds. With weight, the internet tends to have mixed feelings about people who think it's irresponsible for someone, either a celebrity or public figure, to talk about their weight, especially if they're smaller, because people will take that weight and use it as a standard of beauty to say that in order to look good, they need to be just as thin. However, in many cultures, weight is simply just a number on a scale. Using myself as an example, I am maybe 5'8", so I'm actually smaller than Jimin. I weigh 140-ish, I think, which is 64 kg. But if I were to lift my shirt, you could see my ribs, meaning I could probably gain a few pounds and still look slim. Whereas Jimin at the weight he is at looks like he has pecs and abs. You can see it through his sweater. Yet I possibly look thinner than him. So you see how weight is just a number? I don't think it's irresponsible for him to talk about it because it's something that he wants to talk about. And I think if it was controversial or the company felt it would be cut out. The company also probably wants you to see it as he is extremely hardworking, as a lot of idols see weight loss is a part of the job, and if you're able to do it, you're not lazy, but you're hardworking, which for Asian culture is what they believe. Not true, obviously, but these behind the scenes videos are made for you to see how hard the artist works on set, and losing weight to prepare for a shoot is pretty common practice in the industry. But regardless, people were very upset, and some have even said that it appears like every time Jimin opens his mouth, he is talking about weight. But of course he might, because it's all the haters say about him. People call him a pig. Even if he was much bigger, how are you going to call him a pig? This is exactly why Asians have this mentality of if you don't exercise or maintain a specific weight number, you're lazy, because Asians care a lot about what other people think and status. It's a huge part of the culture. Being called a pig would lower your status. So it's just one of those things that I feel Jimin could never win at. I also think just because a celebrity weighs a certain number does not mean we have to. Instead of pointing the fingers and saying it's the celebrity's fault why we feel like we need to look a certain way, have some security in ourselves and say that I am happy with the number I'm at, and I'm happy that Jimin is at the number he's at. I think it's beautiful that we all have different numbers and sizes. It would be boring if we all looked the same. Suga even shared the same sentiment apparently when a while ago he talked about how he doesn't like when people go on diets, and says that just thinking about there being 1 kg less of ARMY in the world makes him sad, and then asked ARMY to stay their beautiful self. I can imagine this is probably how Suga would feel hearing that Jimin was trying to drop his weight also. This is obviously an even bigger concern among Jimin fans because he had a pretty crazy incident involving his health. This incident recently was talked about because his weight and health was a part of the conversation. If you didn't know, Jimin had to get his appendix removed, and then at the same time he was tested positive for COVID. Going into surgery with COVID is definitely risky. Your immune system lowers every time you go into surgery. That's definitely not good for COVID, but also not eating properly and all that is not good for COVID. However, please don't be concerned over this. Jimin is likely being monitored by a doctor when he does these things, and when things drop so bad or become so bad, there is likely a chance he will be taken care of. After all, Jimin made it out of surgery and COVID really okay. But what do you think about this? Are you concerned over Jimin's health, and do you think HYBE will ruin the Jimin solo comeback album's chart ranking? Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.